what types of things in terms of community building and like maintaining mental health and supporting employees in that way have you seen that like maybe working that people can maybe benefit from?
So that's a really great question, Brendan, and it's really been interesting to hear. And it varies from what I'm seeing so far. It varies from kind of company culture to company culture, and some organizations, kind of more sciency ones, are kind of are happy with the quiet and the solitude, and there's much more of a it's me and my work kind of thing. Likewise, I find that older workers that I'm talking to are probably a little bit easier with the solitude, or with the less time for community building and sharing. But younger people, when I've talked to them, there's a tendency to set up different kinds of venues for connecting that maybe are non-work. So the happy hour at the end of the day, where everybody gets a glass of wine or a beer and sits down together and does some kind of goofy activity or just talks and completely non-work related. Keeping those kinds of connections, I'm seeing from a lot of younger people. I think I think the biggest issue, or one of the biggest problems, has been onboarding people.
Mm.
And this brings up this whole question of what is a culture in an organization, and how do you build one? Is
Especially
so
remote.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you would think about when you were hired in an organization, what was it like? What did you do? You came in and you met people, and they told you about the place, and they walked you around, and you had, different kind of trainings with other people right there who maybe you weren't going to work side by side with, but who were also starting in the organization at the same time. So you bonded a little bit there. We don't have any of that. So it's
Mhm.
all online, and it's a challenge, and it makes you stop and think about, well, what is a culture, and what are the components of it, and how do we pass that through the ethos, and or through the internet to one another. um,
Yeah, like how would you define a culture in this setting?
Again, it's organization specific, and it varies a lot with what's uh, it's organization specific. So, but it is kind of the set of norms and uh, interactive rules, kind of communication rules and norms that people share with one another. And I think it kind of comes down to that in a distributed world. So then the question becomes, well, okay, let's talk about what are our norms going to be, or how are they going to change? Like, what takes the place of our morning stand up? What are we going to do to make sure that we are kind of aware in what's going on in different groups within our organization, not who we necessarily work with every day, but how when you're in the building in your job pre-COVID, how you would just interact or pass with people, and you would catch up on what was going on elsewhere. So you just kind of had a bigger sense of what was going on. How do we do that? And I think that we have to be more um, um, out forthright and say these are the things we have to do. So we have to make sure that we have a place where we record everything so everybody can find, so that communications are in a place that is digitally available, because we don't have the passing in the employee lounge or whatever anymore. We need to have rules about when we meet, or how often we meet. Um, we have to have rules around best ways to communicate. A lot of people just want to pick up their phone and text and or FaceTime with you or whatever really quickly. Um, others are going to be different. So I think it's being a little bit more intentional about what we're doing, so that we're actually defining culture more clearly than we had to when we were in person.